Hello and welcome to AgriTalk. This is a show about agriculture and the benefits and sometimes the business of.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
I think this one is more about the health benefits of some foods we can eat to improve your health, which, you know, most of the times foods that are more beneficial are more straight from the garden and less they've had less done to them. Processing.
Yeah, less processing.
Processing
right.
is
Straight
bad.
out of the garden, straight production, I think.
Right.
Absolutely.
So our guest today is going to talk about berries,
yes.
mostly?
Yeah, a variety of berries from variety of colors, red, greens, all you name it, I think. Today we have Dr. Gary Gow from the Ohio State University. He's located at the OSU South Centers and on campus. Gary, welcome. He's our small fruit specialist. So I think we've got a lot to learn from this. All right. Gary, welcome. And how about give us a little oversight of when did you start and how did you get into your background?
Okay. I have been with Ohio State University for many years. Started working at OSU since 1974. Not 1974, 1994.
94.
So just almost almost gained 20 years. But anyway, before that, I was a graduate student working on my PhD and master's, and so almost felt like 1974. Yeah. So I conduct research on small fruits and berry crops and all that. So really enjoyed working for the Ohio State University.
Great. Your current research is small fruits, and I think a lot of the big topics now are like cancer research and things like that. And we have something called super fruits, right?
Yep.
And so what is a super fruit, and what do we can we buy it? Do we grow it? What is a super fruit?
Okay, super fruits. If you just Google super fruits, actually a lot of things would come up. And some are good, and some are not necessarily good. But super fruits it's more of a marketing term because scientifically there really isn't such a thing as a super fruit.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like the arguments between organic and natural and all that? Those labels that people put on things?
Well, with organic food, there are strict standards. People just can't say, "Oh, these are organic." But with superfruits, it's more of a marketing thing.
Okay.
And then we go. So you probably heard of acai berries, which is from Brazil, and it's very high in antioxidant content. So nowadays, pretty much any fruits that are very high in antioxidant content, and people can call them super fruits. So if you like things like blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, those are all considered super fruits, and those are what I call the common super fruits. There are a few uncommon ones, all the way from elderberries and Chinese goji berries, and also aronia, which is also called black chokeberries.
Now, what would be just a regular fruit that's not a super fruit?
Let's see. Depends on which person you talk to. If we started calling them, these fruits are not really that super, and that commodity might get a little bit upset about that. Yeah, because they all have their place, and,
right.
All the way from banana to oranges and to apples, and they all have their tremendous nutritional qualities
and benefits.
Yeah, we can benefit.
But these are set aside because of antioxidant levels.
Right.
So what does an antioxidant do for you and your body?
Okay, that's a very good question. Antioxidant. Since I'm not really a medical doctor, and then what I read is in our body, or our body makes what's called the free radicals, and which could be used to kill the wrong stuff and that the disease-causing mechanisms. And when you have a little bit, it's great. It keeps everything under control. keeps bad things happening. But when you have too many of those radicals around, they can start attacking your cells, which could lead to cancer. So the antioxidant, they can actually neutralize those free radicals, which lead to cancer prevention.
Okay. With heart health, I've heard anti-inflammatory properties. Is that related to antioxidant?
Is it
Okay.
related to?
Yes, yes. Actually, we have quite a few researchers at The Ohio State University, and they have been doing research on these type of things for many years. And I remember back in the 80s, Dr. Gary Stoner, he conducted studies, many studies on antioxidant content and how these chemicals reduce inflammation.
Okay.
So they do have these kind of really nice benefits.
Okay. And so I also heard that sugars, or a sugar is an inflammatory for you. And I was just wondering what the difference might be between, like, the sugar that you got in, you put in your coffee, versus the sugars that you might find in fruits.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So
is that
a good sugar or a bad sugar? That's what you're asking, really?
Yeah, like the cane sugar that you sweeten things with, or candies, versus fruit sugars.
Well, with people like us, we typically say everything in moderation. They're really not sure. I'm not sure whether it's really a bad sugar or a good sugar. When we talk about the sugars, and typically you have sucrose, which is the cane sugar,
or the other sugars that come out of eating pastas or drinking too much beer or something. Your body converts it to sugars.
Right. Well, with sugars and typical cane sugar, that would be sucrose, and then in fruits you get glucose, fructose, and in moderation, those are all good things because we need those to sustain life. And then you probably heard of the artificial sweeteners. Sometimes they can trick your body,
right.
And which could be bad and could be good, and so we don't really want to get into a serious discussion about artificial sweeteners. But the fruits, they have quite a bit, of those different types of sugars, and just everything in moderation. I would say they're all good. Just kind of hard to, unless you get too much of it, then that would be bad news.
Now, how do we, with these super fruits, how does a person say, I wanted to grow some? Can I grow them, or is that something that we should leave that to the farmer, or what would work for my backyard garden?
Okay.
Is there something like that that I could do, that I could use for my beneficial?
That grows without me killing it, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, something that's relatively
I don't have to be
easy.
a farmer to do that.
Yeah, something relatively easy.
Because I can kill a cactus.
That's a very good question. Actually, a lot of fruits are not really that hard to grow. You just need a little bit knowledge. So there are many different kinds of fruits that could be grown, and that's why I brought this. And this is a pretty nice bulletin. I was actually the editor and also the co-author of this. It's called the Midwest and Home Fruit Production Guide. It's very nice because I loved the pictures. So I purposely put about 100, probably 50, 60 pictures in there.
Yeah.
And so
good, that makes you hungry.
Yeah, makes you very hungry. And then that was kind of our main goal
Right.
with the cover. We want you to kind of start. Mouth watering and kind of like really get hungry to think about these things. So
what do you find in this guide? Is that how to grow, or about each of the fruits, or what is this?
Both. This particular guide, and so it's for people who want to select different fruits for consumption. It's also a very nice guide for people to get into home fruit production.
Okay.
So go ahead.
I see it also says pest management. So what is one of our common pests that we need to be watching out for?
Well, depending on which crop you are talking about, and there are many different types of pests. And then if you talk to entomologists and bug people, they will say, well, insects are very important.
Right.
They can cause a lot of damage. And then you have folks who deal with diseases and fungal diseases and bacterial disease. And they might say, well, that could be considered a pest as well. And
Or deer and birds.
That's nuisance wildlife. And then there are folks who might say, well, what about weeds? And that could be, even though we don't, we kind of lump them into kind of pests, but the true pests are actually insects. So one of those is we all know, Japanese beetle. You see them every year, and they can cause quite a bit damage.
They don't eat the fruit, but they eat the leaves, right?
Well, that
Or do they eat the fruit?
that also depends on which crop we're talking about.
Okay.
They can eat a lot of leaves. They can actually Japanese beetles, and they can actually eat flowers too. They will eat the flowers, and they will also eat the fruits. So depending on which crop we're talking about, for example. I'm more familiar with blueberries. With blueberries, it will just eat a lot of leaves, and then when they're around, they see fruits, and they might just eat.
They'll nibble on it too.
Yeah, nibble on it, and maybe eat a little bit, and then get a little bit of sugar, and then then they move on.
Interesting.
Yeah, like the deer and stuff. If we like it, they probably like it.
Oh, absolutely. So we've talked about some of the common ones like blueberry and blackberries and stuff like that. Is there a difference between a wild blueberry or raspberry versus one that we are doing in production? Is there different levels of? Is there one
like a
better than
DNA
the other?
difference,
Does it?
maybe?
Yeah.
You hear about
I know
GMOs.
I know there's difference in that. But is there one versus the other that we should look at, or other than a lot of times I know in the wild they have thorns on them, and some of the ones that we have in the fields are thornless. So obviously I want to pick those versus those. But is there which one that's better for me?
Okay, well, that's a very good question. The wild berries in the field, and they do have a lot of antioxidants and very, very high. In the case of say blueberries, in states like Maine, where they have a lot of wild low bush blueberries, those are really nice because when we eat when we get our typical blueberries, the skin is blue. But with wild blueberries, like you get in Maine, and then their fruits actually are blue inside out. So they're much higher in antioxidant content. And then in the case of say blackberries or black raspberries in the wild, their antioxidant contents are very high, but the main challenge is their yields are not as low. So for folks who go out and pick those, and that's pretty neat. You can you get a lot of health benefits, without having to paying for those.
Now back to the pests. You can't do much in the wild, but how do you prevent those bugs and different things? I know you don't like to use chemicals necessarily, but do you use chemicals or netting, or what do you do to prevent some of the bugs?
There are quite a few different tactics, and all the way from physical, mechanical, to screening, and to simple home remedies, and there are also insecticides that folks can use. Just in the case of Japanese beetle, what you could do is, and first thing is, you could have a little bit screening, make sure the openings are pretty small. So that would be one way, and then another way is some gardeners, you can get a bucket of water. Doesn't have to be full, just a little bit on the bottom, and then you put a little bit soap over there, in there, and then you could just beat those insects and kind of drop them into the soapy water bucket, and that's enough to kill them.
Oh,
remove
okay. So it's not that you leave this in the field and they get attracted to it.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah. This is
you're taking it
you
off.
Yeah.
manually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the good news about the Japanese beetle is what the main thing is to get rid of the first wave
Right
of
away.
and then they
Do they talk?
Well, they talk. They do.
Like,
actually,
hey, there's a good crop over here.
It's a good stuff.
actually, they do. They what they do is, and then they have, I guess, they have a unique way to communicate. When they feed on the plants, they send out these feeding hormones or pheromones,
Right.
and then other insects will find out. Okay, this is where the food is, and then you get thousands and thousands of them. So it's very critical to go ahead and control the ones that first show up, and then once you get rid of those, and then the insects might go to a different area.
So is there a specific season that these guys come on? I hate to go out in April or May looking for these guys. Do they come on June or July, the beetles?
Yeah, well, since we're talking about Japanese beetles, and then what they do is they actually they have a complete life cycle. So right now is this is February. So what they do is they are in the mature, the immature stage and grubs. So in the
So they're in the ground?
Yeah, they're in the ground and probably pretty deep in the soil. And then as the soil warms up, and they just gradually come up. And when the weather gets really good, and they will come out as beetles, so Japanese beetles, and typically I would say June-ish.
Okay.
They are very temperature sensitive, so they will come out and in large waves.
Okay, to go a little bit different, since we're talking about seasons, can you get more than one crop off of most of these things, or
in 1 year?
extend the season?
Yeah, that's that's another very, very good question. In the case of in the case of raspberries, you can actually select different varieties to achieve that.
So you can get early and late.
Yep. Yeah. So when you read the catalogs, and you have a group that's called the summer bearing raspberries. So you get them typically in July, for 2 or 3 weeks. So that's one way, and then if you want to get 2-3 harvests, you can get what's called the ever-bearing raspberries. So you get a late spring crop, and then you get a fall crop.
So I know there's certain plants where you can pick off of them, and then they'll just keep coming if you pick them. But if you leave them, then they don't. Or maybe it's flowers or something.
Yeah, that would be maybe that would make a lot of sense with things like impatiens, petunia, which is called deadheading. Okay. So you remove the flowers, and then that will encourage the plants to bloom.
Can you do the same with fruits? Or
yeah, you could try, but it doesn't work work as well in fruits. If you harvest them pretty much right away, and then maybe the remaining berries will be a little bit bigger, but it does not necessarily encourage them to produce a whole bunch more, because their capacity has been kind of set. Well, in the case of raspberries, and it depends on how high they grow.
Now, most of these things, if you want to grow them yourself, you order seeds or plants.
Okay. Yeah, with pretty much all of our fruit crops, because they are propagated by cuttings, or you could do tissue culture, and that's you take a little bit tip and cut it into small pieces. Well, the nurseries do that, and so pretty much all of them are propagated by cuttings.
So you would buy a plant.
Yeah, so you would need to buy plants.
Now, do they bear fruit within the first year, or do you have to wait 2 or 3 years to get stuff off of these things?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. Looks like you have a little bit of experience with these things. Well, it depends on which crop you're talking about, and then I would say for folks who who are not as patient as most people. So one thing I would do is maybe you could try strawberries. There are what's called the everbearing or day neutral strawberries. You can buy plants and then plant them, and you will get a crop during the first year. And then are more common type strawberries where you can buy the plants and then plant them, and then you get a crop next year. And so that would getting crop during the second or third year is more common than the first year.
So most of these fruit-bearing plants are not annuals. These are bushes or plants that will be there next year and the year after. So once you lay them out, saying that the rabbit doesn't chew them off.
Right. It's almost
They'll
like
be there
planting a
next
tree.
year, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Most of these, so you won't have the same outlay every year.
Yeah.
You just have to manage everything else around them.
Yeah. Well, most of our fruit crops are perennial. We call them perennial plants, and they do last a long time. Some last longer than others. And for example, a blueberry bush can last, somewhere between 50 to 70 years. And then brambles, we call them brambles, and that would include blackberries and raspberries. And typically they would last about 10 to 15 years. And peach trees, maybe about 12 to 15. Apple trees, maybe about 25 years. So they last quite a long time.
Now, would grapes be a super fruit or not?
If you talk to the grape kind of marketing board, they would say absolutely yes.
Super?
Yeah, they are.
They're pretty super.
Yeah, they're very super.
They taste pretty good.
Yeah, they
They
have
drink
their
pretty
own,
good. Yeah.
health benefits.
Yeah, I would definitely consider grapes a super fruit, especially the ones that are red and kind of purple, blue, and then they have quite a bit quite a bit antioxidant in them, and that's why nowadays a lot of people kind of drink a little bit red wine for the health, and I subscribe to that theory, and it's always a good thing to drink red wine, which has many health benefits.
Now, I've heard the better the fruit, the darker or deeper rich color it is. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say the darker, the darker the fruits, because the color that you see in fruits, and for example in blue, red grapes, and those are all what we call anthocyanins. It's a class of plant pigments, and they're all antioxidants. So the darker the better.
The darker the better.
Absolutely. That's why
So it seems like a theory going on. The more color enriched, the better the fruit is for you.
Yeah, so that's why red wines are so very good for you, and then people who consume red wines on a regular basis, they tend to have a very healthy. They have a very healthy lifestyle to begin with, but it's also good for your health.
How much of this should you eat to see a benefit? Can I eat a quart of strawberries a week and be good, or do I need to eat a quart per day? I'm good with a quart a day because I love strawberries.
I'm there with you.
The strawberries are very good and very tasty. I would say it's not as much as you would think. The blueberry marketing people would like to see you eating probably 10 pounds per day.
Oh, yeah.
That would be very nice. But I would say just a little bit, maybe one little cup will do the job.
Per day?
Yeah, per day. If you want to eat more, that's always good. But just one little cup. That's enough to do the job. But I would say if you can eat more, that's always more the better. You can if you eat 10 pounds, that might hurt.
That goes for wine too, right?
Wine. That one glass. One glass. And with one glass per day, you will live forever. And 2 glasses, and I don't know. Maybe one and a half. One and a half.
A couple bottles, and you don't care.
Let's just compromise. Yeah.
What other books we got here, Gary?
Yeah.
Let's cover
was the
that
other,
real quick. I know we're getting close on time.
Right. That was the other question I had. Where do you get that book that you
Yeah.
had? Is that a free giveaway, or can you
Is
find
that-
that online, or where do you?
Where do you
Okay.
or purchase it? One of the two.
Well, nowadays our bulletins all carry a charge, and you can get them from your Ohio State University extension offices and across the state.
So most counties should have an extension office.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do, and then you can tell them, okay, this is a bulletin 940. So tell them this is the bulletin that you are interested in. This one is called, this is bulletin 780. It's actually on how to control insects and diseases. How
That one's a little green, so you can see through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we also have one, and that's just on blueberry production. Even though this has a University of Kentucky logo, but I was one of the main contributors. It's designed for the Midwest.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And all these, like you said, you can purchase them from the extension office, or they can order them for you, depending on if they have them in stock or not. Right?
Yeah, that's correct. Those two, they can get them from our extension offices, but this one is from University of Kentucky, so you can actually get it from OSU South Centers in Piketon.
Okay. Where is there anything online that we should be looking at for information? Just the university site? Where can we find information for you? How do we contact you, or do we ask you questions or things like that?
Well, with this show, if it reaches millions and millions,
Yeah, you're going to be busy.
Yeah, that could hurt. I would say the best place to get our information, it's called Ohio Line, OHIOLINE. It's a pretty nice website, and we have quite a few fact sheets, and that could help people.
That's the best place to look for
Yep.
advice. Yep, that is a good location. So, got any other good questions?
Not really. What are we doing at 3 o'clock? Because Gary's coming back.
Gary's
for
coming
another
back. One more show. Yeah.
So what are you talking about in the next show?
Yeah, we will. Talk about quite a few things, and then Dr. Tom Worley and I we will be talking about our research projects. One topic could be container fruit production, and we can
So you don't
also
have to have a lot of land for this.
we
Very
can also
small.
talk about other how to grow them and how to grow them on a commercial scale.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, that's AgriTalk for this week.
Yep.
And thanks for watching, and stay tuned in a couple more hours to see Gary again talking about more super fruits.
Thank you.